Hello everyone and welcome. In today's video, we are going to look at 5 coffee hacks, things that people don't know or don't really think about. Let's get started. Number 1, simple syrup. If you've ever tried mixing some sugar into an iced latte or any cold beverage, you might have realized that it doesn't dissolve very well. You may have found that out by getting to the bottom of the glass and taking that last sip of pure sugar. Well, that can be solved by making the world's simplest solution. Literally half water, half sugar, and that's it. You have simple syrup. You want to use some really hot water to dissolve the sugar fully and keep stirring until you see no more grains of sugar. You want to store it in the fridge and keep it on hand for those hot summer days where it is way easier to dissolve simple syrup into your drink than it will be with sugar. I love to use this for iced lattes, and I'll actually mix it in with the milk and then I will top it off with espresso. Number 2, adding salt. I can't really take credit for this one as I first heard about it through coffee expert James Hoffmann. I'll stick a link to his video in the description, but the idea has floated around for a while now that you can add a pinch of salt to your coffee to decrease the bitterness. In relatively small doses, the salt acts by suppressing bitter flavors, and that increases our perception of sweetness, acidity, and other flavors. Be careful not to use too much though, as larger doses of salt begin to suppress too much flavor, and the coffee will taste savory and of course salty. If you want to try this out yourself like I did, I recommend grabbing some instant coffee. It's cheap and usually very bitter, so this is a great way to test it out. Number 3, budget latte. If you want to make yourself a latte at home, but you can't afford the $1,000 plus machine, a great option is to use a French press and an Aeropress. The Aeropress makes the strong coffee, similar to an espresso, and if you want to know how to do that, you can click the link above to watch my last video. With the French press, you can actually use it as a way to foam your milk. You simply heat up some milk on the stove, or in the microwave if you're in a hurry, up to about 150 degrees, throw it into the French press, and then begin plunging up and down. You really don't need to do it too much or too aggressively, just a few times to get some air in the milk and where you start to see it foam. You can usually just keep going until you have your desired amount of foam. If you do want to try latte art though, I'd recommend grabbing a separate container and throwing it back and forth between the two before pouring. This will help the foam stay a little more integrated as opposed to rising to the top when you're trying to pour. This requires some fine tuning, but the results are really quite nice for a low budget setup. Number 4, the jack of all trades, the Aeropress. I really wanted to touch on the versatility of the Aeropress in this list because I think that a lot of people don't realize its full potential. First off, did you know that it's one of the best ways to get a cup of coffee while you're camping or hiking and don't have access to hot water? You basically brew everything as normal, but when you use the paddle to stir, you give it a good solid minute of stirring. When using cold or lukewarm water, this has a similar effect to dipping a tea bag in and out of your water. The agitation increases the rate of extraction. Of course, you have to be fine with drinking the coffee at lower temperatures, but at least it'll be properly extracted and pretty delicious. Also, the Aeropress does not need to be strictly for coffee. If you or your family like tea, you can also steep the tea in the Aeropress and then push it through the filter when it's done. This is great if you've run out of bags for your loose leaf tea or if you just want less items in your kitchen. You can even consider using the Aeropress to combine different coffees and spices or teas and herbs. If you can steep it, you can throw it in the Aeropress. The possibilities are endless. Number 5, fixing the Moka Pot. Alright, so my biggest problem with the Moka Pot has always been that it allows through too many grounds of coffee. It's great for a thick textured coffee, but I don't usually like the added bitterness that it brings, the lack of flavor clarity, or the last sip of gritty coffee. So one of the ways that you can fix this and potentially create a much tastier cup of coffee is to stick an Aeropress filter inside the chamber, basically on top of the grounds of coffee. Doing this cuts out most of the fine coffee particles and stops some of the oils from getting through. You will get less texture and body, which might honestly defeat the purpose of the Moka Pot for some people, but I think that you get a cleaner and more flavorful cup, which is what I enjoy. You will want to be careful here with your grind though, as you may think that adding the filter would slow things down, and that you need to grind coarser, but there's actually a good argument for why you need to grind finer. Scott Rayo has been playing around with adding a filter to an espresso basket, and his findings are actually that the filter stops the fine coffee particles from clogging up the metal holes, which they normally do, and this ends up allowing the water to pass through more quickly. The same concept can be applied to the Moka Pot, so if you want to try it out, use the same grind setting as you normally would, put the filter in, and see if it does run quicker. The bonus of being able to use a finer grind is that you can also achieve a higher level of extraction. So that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried any of these tricks and what was your experience? Did you have any results that were very different from mine? I want to hear from you. Please also consider subscribing, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day.